Third grade, happy Monday. I'm so excited to get to teach you some more math today. You all did an amazing job on Friday on your math tests. I'm so proud of you. The work that you did in memorizing math facts and working on all of your fractions was outstanding. So today, I have to tell you guys, I need to get a drink of water. Hold on. Oh man. I just ate a Reese's egg. Ooh, and that stuff will stick to your mouth. Have you ever put peanut butter in a dog's mouth? That's pretty funny. If you're with mom and dad later, you should look up a video of a dog eating peanut butter. That's what I feel like right now. Okay, back to math. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to look at chapter 17. That is going to be our new chapter. Now, I'm super pumped about this chapter because it has to do with this big math idea, this big math topic called geometry. Everybody say geometry. Excellent. Now, geometry has to do with lines, points, line segments, but it also has to do with 2D shapes like squares, circles, and it also could have to do with three-dimensional shapes, so cubes or cylinders, okay? So these are all of the different things that you might see in geometry. Well, today to get us started, we're going to be looking at a few new vocabulary words. Now, I know that my published teacher edition is a little different than the published students edition. So, like I've suggested before, if you see a page on my notes or in this video that's different than your page, that's okay. Don't let it bother you. Just go ahead and look at a couple pages before or a couple pages after, and it should be around the same thing. Now, if you notice that your problem is different than my problem that I'm doing from my textbook, why don't we just go ahead and do the problem together on the board? Don't worry about what's in your textbook for now, okay? So let's go ahead and take a look at our first vocabulary word for the week. The first word is point. Everybody say point. Excellent. Now, a point looks something like that. And you might be thinking, Miss Cantrell, that looks a whole lot like a dot. No, John Thomas. No, Judder Beatrice. This is not a dot. No dot. That is a point, okay? When you get into fourth grade next year, you're going to be learning something called a decimal point. And it might look something like this, 2 1/10. This right here is called a decimal, or if I were to say it in the long way, it's called a decimal point, okay? So we need to get used to what a point is and what it looks like in math. Now, whenever I do geometry, whenever I have a line, a point, a line segment, anything like that, I want to make sure I name my point. That point wants to have a name. Should I name it Penelope? No, but that's a pretty cute name. What I would want to name it is maybe just a letter of the alphabet. So why don't we just go with A? That's first. So I'm going to label. Everybody say label. Absolutely. We are going to label our point with an A. That way, if I have more points, like maybe there's one over here and maybe there's one over here, and I say, tell me where the point is. If I didn't have that point named, would I be able to tell you? No, you'd say, Miss Cantrell, which point are you talking about? Well, that's exactly why we have to label them, guys. So I might label this one A. Maybe I'll name this one B for Beatrice. Oh, let's change this to Judd, J. And then up here, we'll name this one T for Thomas, from John Thomas. So then this way I could say, all right, everybody, on your screen, point with your finger to point T. Excellent. So you should be pointing to this one. Now, do you see the importance of labeling things? You were easily able to show me point T because I had it labeled. Otherwise, you would have had no idea what I was talking about. I'm going to go ahead and erase these. And let's go ahead and start talking about our next vocabulary word. Our next vocabulary word is a line. Now, a line is a straight path. So I'm going to draw a line the best that I can A line is a straight path that goes on and on in both directions forever. And in order to symbolize, or in order to show that to you, I'm going to put arrows on each of the sides. This shows you that this line does not ever end. There is no stopping of this line. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the next word. Our next word that we're going to be looking at in our geometry unit is line segment. Let me show you what a line segment is made out of. So you're going to have one point on one end, and let's name this point J for Jake, my cat, who's sleeping over here. And it is going to have a line connecting to another point. And let's name this point M for Maggie, my dog, who's sitting here with me too. This is a line segment. Notice the difference between a line and a line segment. A line segment ends with 2 points. It stops. It does not go on in both directions forever. However, a line does, okay? Now, let's say that I have point Q, I'm just randomly naming, and I have a point P, okay? Now, sometimes I could have a line that runs through Q and P. So if I were to name this line, it would be called line QP or line PQ. It doesn't really matter. But notice, this is not a line segment. And the reason this is not a line segment is because I see that I have lines on the other side of my points that continue to go on forever. However, if I were to erase those and not make it a line anymore, what did I make this now? Is this a point? Is this a line? Or is this a line segment? Absolutely. This is a line segment. It has 2 points on either end. It stops, and there are no arrows showing us that it goes on forever. It stops right here. So if I were to name this, it would be named line segment QP or line segment PQ. It doesn't matter the order of your letters, as long as you have both of the letters in there with you. So let's go ahead and look in our student textbook. Now remember, it's okay if your page is a little bit different than mine. And if so, just follow along with me. So on student textbook, page 269, at the top of it, you should see directions that say, identify each figure as a point, line, or line segment. Then name each figure. I'm going to show you what my page looks like so that you can find yours if it happens to be a different page. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at number 1. This is what I see in my book. I have a point named C. Hello, C. I have a point named D. Hello, D. And I have something running right down the middle of them. Okay, so I look for my first clue. Do I see any arrows? Yes, I do. I see arrows going in both directions. So that shows me that this must be a line. Absolutely. Now, if I said, John Thomas, tell me the name of this line, what would you tell me? Excellent. You could say line CD, or Beatrice, what else could you call this? Line DC. Absolutely. Both of these show different names, but they're for the same line. Okay? Let's take a look at number 2. On number 2, I have a point. And I'm going to call this B. Oh, I just told you what it was and I didn't even realize it. Do I have any lines here? Do I have any segments? Is this connected to any other point? No, it's not. So when I just have this and maybe the name of a letter to give it a name to help us out, it would be called a what, Beatrice? Absolutely. This would be called a point. And the name of my point is point B. Excellent job. Let's take a look at number 3. For number 3, you should have something that looks like this. And the point here has a name of F. And the point at the bottom has a name of G. Now I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this. Do I think it's a line? Do I see any arrows? Is it just one point? Or is it a line segment where we have 2 points and it's connected with a line, but it doesn't go on forever? Absolutely. This is a line segment. And we know that because we have 2 points that stop the line. There are no arrows that show us that it's going on and on forever. This is a line segment. Now, if I were to say, what is the name of your line segment, Judd? What would you tell me? Absolutely. This would be called line segment FG or line segment GF. Either one are right. Okay, now that we've talked a little bit about lines, we've talked about points, and we've talked about line segments, we're going to start looking at shapes that have line segments in them. So on number 4 on this page, we see a triangle. And if you don't see it, no biggie, just follow along with me. We're going to do some practice together. I see a triangle. And the question says, find the number of line segments in each plane shape. Now, when they say plane shape, P-L-A-N-E, that's talking about a 2-dimensional shape or a shape that is flat on the surface. So this is a plane shape, okay? This is the same way that you would spell a plane in the sky. But there is a homophone that's spelled like this plane. That would be like if you have plain bread. You don't have any butter on it, you don't have any jelly. I just want you to get used to those words. So let's go back to our shape. It says, find the number of line segments in each shape. Okay, well, I can do this to help me. I'm going to take a look at each of the angles, which we haven't really talked too much about angles, so let's call them corners for right now. I'm going to put a decimal point on each corner. Later, I'm going to call them angles. That's really the good math word for it. And I'm going to count how many line segments there are. So I'm basically just going to connect the dots. 1, there's 1 line segment. 2, 2 line segments. 3, 3 line segments. So my answer for number 4 would be 3. I have 3 line segments. Oh, what about this next one though on problem 5? This shape looks a little funny. Let's see. Boop, boop. Ooh, it is so hot in this sunroom today, you guys. Boop, boop. Okay. Now, it says, how many line segments do I have? All right, so let's do our first trick. I'm gonna go ahead and put a point in each of my corners. There's a corner. There's a corner. 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 Now, I'm gonna go ahead and look for my segments. So I'm gonna connect each dot. So I'll start, oh, I just called it a dot, didn't I? Oh, Miss Cantrell, got you. Point. I'm going to connect my points. All right, so this point to this point is one line segment. So I'll put a 1 here. From this point to this point, that would be 2. From this point to this point, that would be 3. From this point to this point would be 4. And from this point to this point would be 5. So go ahead and tell me, how many line segments are there in this plane shape or this flat shape? Excellent, everybody. We have 5 line segments in this shape. Okay. Now, a minute ago, you heard me use this word, this math word that you've probably heard of before. And it is called angles. Everybody say angles. Excellent. When 2 line segments, like let's have line segment HG, and let's have a line segment HJ. When 2 line segments share the same point, so both J and G are sharing H, do you see that? They form an angle. Now, the symbol to show an angle is this. It's almost like an arch, okay? This arch can help you later on in math figure out how many degrees, everybody say degrees. Now, I'm not talking about hot degrees. I'm not talking about temperature degrees. I'm talking about degrees and angles. So is it 90 degrees, which is what a right angle would be? Is it 180 degrees, which would be half of a circle? Is it 360 degrees, which would be a circle? Okay. So we have this symbol that shows an angle. This angle is formed by 2 line segments, HG and HJ. The line segments have the same endpoint, named H. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about angles and shapes, okay? I'm flipping over my page to 270. It should look something like this. It should have popsicle sticks up at the top. Look at the pair of craft sticks. So I'm going to look at A. I'm going to draw A. B. And if you don't have it, no big deal. I'm drawing it here for you. C. D. E. And F. Which pairs form an angle? Now, an angle must be formed by 2 line segments touching each other at one point. So they must share a point. If I look at A, here's a line segment, here's a line segment, and it is sharing a point. So does this form an angle? Yes. Let's look at B. Are these 2 lines even touching each other? No. So this does not form an angle. They are not sharing a point. C. Does this little guy have an angle? Does he have a point that they are sharing? Yes, he is an angle. This would be an acute angle, or an angle that is smaller than 90 degrees. I know that you guys learned the names of those with Miss Kokalis last year. D. Is this forming an angle? Absolutely. We have a point that is being shared by two line segments. Yes, that is an angle. Take a look at E. Are my two lines here even touching? No. And because they're not touching, because they're not sharing a point, they do not have an angle. Last one here, F. Is F an angle? Yes, it is. Because in F, you have two line segments that come together to share a point. So this does form an angle. Excellent, excellent job. This is what I would like for you to do today. Today, I would like for you to open up your workbook, and I would like for you to do pages 173 and 174. You're going to be exploring a little bit more today with lines, line segments. So parents, I'm going to go ahead and ask your kiddos to pause the video. All right, excellent, excellent job on that work today, friends. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the answers for the 2 pages that I have, just to make sure that you have those correct. So here we have our answers to page 173. And here are the answers to page 174. So you should have 3 checked there in the bottom and 2 up at the top. Excellent, excellent job. Tomorrow, we are going to be looking at different shapes, and we are going to be discovering how many angles they have in them. All right, guys, great job on this today, and I'll see you tomorrow. Happy Monday.